Welcome back to another episode of Cinema Society Saturday. And I am Gus from Askewed Reviews. Now, if you haven't heard of Cinema Society Saturday before, let me tell you a little more about it. This is where a group of horror content creators have come together, and each week we are randomly given a theme. We then partner up, give our partner a movie that fits within the theme, and then we review that film for all of you. Now, the theme for this week was Gothic Horror. Now, in case you aren't exactly clear as to what that is, these are horror films that usually involve mystery, things of the supernatural, and even psychological terror. It also usually has morally ambiguous characters and an atmosphere of dread that oftenly takes place in castles, mansions, graveyards, or asylums, but they can take place in many other locations as well.
So my partner for this week was my good friend Crowley over at Splatterhouse Cinemas. And if you're not already following him, definitely go and do so. He has some really great content, and he is the creator of the Pumpkin Patch Pals, which is hopefully something that everyone will know in the next couple of years. It's really cool. Definitely check it out. And for this week's theme, my partner gave me the film of House on Haunted Hill, the original film from 1959 that was directed by William Castle. Now, if you're a big fan of horror films, it's highly likely that you watched the remake of this movie and maybe even the sequel that came after that remake. But if you haven't watched the original film, you're doing yourself a disservice. This is an absolute classic, and if you are a fan of horror, it's definitely something you should check off your list of watching at least once. One of the biggest reasons to go and watch this film is, of course, because one of its stars is Vincent Price. And that man is amazing in pretty much every role he does. If they ever were to make a Mount Rushmore of horror actors, I absolutely think that he should be one of the heads on that actual monument. So let me tell you about the concept for the film. It all takes place in the house on Haunted Hill, where five strangers have been invited for a party. Now, the hosts of this party are Frederick and Annabelle Lauren. Now, Frederick is a millionaire, and he has a bit of a challenge for his party guests. Anyone who stays locked up in this haunted house for 12 hours will win $10,000. But if they don't survive the night, that 10,000 will then go to their next of kin. So the door will lock at midnight, and our party guests begin to learn a little bit more about each other and the house itself. As they do so, they begin to see and experience some very strange things, which causes some of them to not want to be stuck in here. Unfortunately, right before midnight, the door ends up locking early, and now they're all stuck in here until morning. To give each of the partygoers a feeling of safety, they are given a party gift, which just so happens to be a pistol. So now all of them are armed and, I guess, able to keep themselves safe from ghosts? With all of this money on the line, and our guests having their own deep dark secrets, will spirits be the only thing that everyone here has to worry about? So, the first thing I'll say about this film is for this day and age, it may not have the most exciting and exhilarating story, but it is still fascinating to watch. I like the concept, I like the characters, and I'm really fascinated by the effects of the time. Like, some of them look really good, and some moments are, in fact, kind of creepy. So, since this film, in my own opinion, does still stand the test of time, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. If you'd like to watch it for yourselves, it's currently streaming for free on Prime. One more random thing I just want to mention because I found it funny. If you look at the IMDb credits for this film, the skeleton is apparently played by Skeleton, which I just find very funny. And just once more, I am going to mention you should already be following Crowley at Splatterhouse Cinemas. Go and check him out. Let's see if we can get him up to 3,000 followers. He's got some really fun and entertaining content. And of course, another great reason to check out his stuff is so you can see the movie that I gave him to review, which was The Changeling from 1980. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cinema Society Saturday. And if you'd like to see what everyone else did for their gothic horror reviews, just look up the hashtag Cinema Society Saturday.